Oh, we have a lot of interesting questions here. This is a graphic. What do these mean? And it's 3 stripes and a V. So that's how we know Saivites from Vaishnavites. And the 3 stripes, holy ash, represent purification of the 3 malas, Anava, Karma, and Maya, of course. Limited awareness, the world, and cause and effect. So we're trying to purify those. And putting on the 3 stripes reminds us that we're trying to purify ourselves. Purification of these 3 specific things. The V is a Vaishnavite symbol. I'm not sure what it means, but someone does that, they're a Vaishnavite. So you can tell, big red V. Is God the life energy or the object, or is it both? What is ether? Well, the deeper we go into God, the more everything becomes God. But when everything becomes God, some parts of it are more subtle than other parts. So obviously, when we go deeply enough, we even see the world as God. But the world is the grossest aspect of God. And someone like Veylanswami, everything was Siva, the world, the people. He didn't see anything but God. And so the life energy is a more subtle form of God than the object. So we're trying, it's easier to see God in the life energy than in the object. So that's why we focus on the life energy. What is ether? Ether is the English word for akasha. Akasha is space, but not empty space. In other words, you have elements. And the Hindu belief is there's something there in space before you get air. There's something in space. Space isn't empty. There's something there, and that's called ether or akasha. When someone dies, what purification rites should we do as a doctor or healthcare worker? You can tell this wasn't asked by a child. Well, it depends how close we are to the patient. I remember someone who is a nurse who worked with terminal cancer patients. It was all she did. And so the patients were always dying. And she had a simple practice that afterwards she would go to the beach and sit there and let go of the person and get it out of her mind in a simple way. So it depends how close you become to the patient. You don't want to remain in your mind. The person's gone, there's no benefit. You've done your duty, so you want to try and get it out of your mind. In terms of the purification, technically we don't need to purify unless a death occurs in our family. The Hindu way of looking at purification. We have a psychic tie with the people in our blood family, and only with those people do we need to observe retreat or a period of purification. And that's a couple of answers on that. How can we simplify Hinduism for our children? Well, we need intellectual concepts to simplify it. And for example, not common in the temples in the UK, but in a number of temples in the US, they have shrines for every conceivable deity and guru. They have 30-some shrines in the temple. You walk in the temple, there's 30 shrines there staring at you. It's kind of overwhelming to kids. So, how can that be simplified? Well, you need a concept. Why do we have so many? And the answer I give is, well, I'm usually in the U.S., so I say, how many official languages are there in the U.S.? So there's one. How many official languages are there in Canada? There's two. How many official languages are there in India? There's 22 official languages in India. Can you believe that? 22 official languages. That doesn't count all the unofficial languages. So why is there 1 versus 2 versus 22? Because of the history of the development of the country. India is a much older country. And its traditions have existed for thousands of years. And in the olden times, there wasn't much travel between regions, so you get different languages. You also get different concepts of God from different parts of the country. So when all of a sudden all those people from different parts of the country end up in the same city in the U.S. and put 30-some deities in the temple, the kids come and say, what's going on? Well, you have to choose. You have to choose. The parents need to say, well, this is the one we focus on. Forget the rest. This is our family deity. This is our tradition. The others are traditions of others. So you need a concept. How do we simplify Hinduism for children? You have to give concepts about what part of Hinduism you focus on. Otherwise, it's overwhelming. Philosophies. Dozens of major Hindu philosophies. Which one do we believe? There's lots of practices. Do we practice meditation? So the parents need to be the ones who simplify it by saying, okay, focus on this, focus on this, focus on this, and forget the rest. Because you're not supposed to be doing it all. You're not supposed to worship at all 30 shrines in an intense way. You have to honor them, of course, but you focus just on one. Sorry. Cows are maltreated for milk. Can this process be improved to be acceptable for Hindus and temples? Well, yes, that was the talk today, and it can be improved. We have our own herd of cows, the Adheenam in Hawaii. We have 5, right? 5 milking cows, the Jerseys, and Jersey cows give less milk than Holsteins, but it has a richer butter fat content. And they're smaller, they don't butt you around so much. Cows can be dangerous at certain times. But so we treat them well. They're grass-fed. There's a herd of 5. They have friends and another herd. So it's a nice, healthy situation. We take the milk and process it mainly for yogurt. We eat a lot of yogurt, and yogurt, of course, is used in the temple. Milk is used in the temple. And then when we have a festival, our major festival is Rudra Darshanam, and we get a special organic milk for that, because we use too much. But it's friendly dairy, guaranteed friendly dairy. So we are sensitive to that point raised today. And as more Hindus become aware in the UK that you can do something, then hopefully something will be done. Well, sometimes we're tired because we don't enjoy what we're doing. Like, if we only do the subjects in school that we don't like, we don't do the ones we like. So, a simple way to avoid tiredness is to make sure we're doing some things we enjoy that inspires us, keeps us going. So we always need to do some inspirational things. Lord Shiva, one concept of the human mind. Well, no. Lord Shiva is based upon visions of saints, The concept of Lord Shiva is based upon various visions that saints have had over the thousands of years. The Shankaras advise the Vedanta and the monism of Saivism the same. We could write a book on that probably. Well, basically the same. I'd say there's some difference, but he's more strict Mayavadin, but the goal is the same. And Shankaras advise that the main difference is usually the followers are very focused on what's called jnana yoga, which involves a lot of scriptural study. So they're more keen on scriptural study and not so keen on the temple. Whereas in Saivism, the temple is always important. Even to a great jnana, he still goes to the temple. He never outgrows the temple. So the difference is more in the practice, rather than in the jnana. Because jnana is jnana. What is Chidambara Rahasyam? That's a secret, right? That's the whole point. Oh, it's a symbol, and the first thing we say about symbols is they have more than one interpretation. Right? So we don't want to say this means only this. That's a narrow interpretation of the symbol. But to me, it's Chidakasha. It's the temple of Akasha, the element Akasha, and it's called Chidakasha. And it's recognizing that which permeates everything, but you can't see it. So there's no visible form in the shrine. Why are some Hindus vegetarian? Well, interesting point for those who are under a certain age. Again, you're used to Google Translate. Anyone know Google Translate? Okay, Google Translator's up here. So you can put Tamil on the left and English on the right. You have to use a Tamil. Be able to type Tamil. And you type in Saivam, right? You know what comes out in Google Translate? Vegan. Not even vegetarian, vegan. Vegetarian without dairy. Somehow Google Translate takes that over the religion. Of course, it does mean vegetarian, but they don't give the religion when they say vegan. So, why are some Hindus vegetarian? Because scriptures extol vegetarianism as the best diet. That's the basic reason. Like the Tirukkural. It has a number of chapters on why we should be vegetarian. So the simple reason is our scriptures say this is the best diet, vegetarian. Why do we have to eat vegetarian? We don't. You only have to eat vegetarian if your parents say you do. All parents don't say you do, so it's up to the parents. And then when you're an adult, you have to make a decision. All Hindus are not vegetarian, but more Hindus are vegetarian than any other religion, is my understanding. A higher percentage, I'm not sure what percentage. But if you get on a plane and you order a Hindu meal, you may get surprised. You know what a Hindu meal is on the plane? It's chicken. It doesn't say vegetarian. It says Hindu meal. So what does that tell us? It shows us Hindus have a greater sensitivity about beef than anything else. Lots of Hindus simply don't eat beef. They eat chicken and fish, but they don't eat meat, or they eat eggs. So you don't have to be vegetarian. It's up to your parents when you're young, and when you're older, you need to give some thought to it. There's a good chapter on it in Shiva, which explains the reasons for being vegetarian. Is there such a thing as luck, or is everything just pure effort? Well, luck. There's a lot of factors besides luck and effort. I think that's the challenge in trying to fit into the structure. what happens to us is basically caused by us, called karma. We have a big magnet in us that attracts experiences to us. So everything is basically a reflection of that magnet, which is our past actions that's still inside of us. So beyond that, there can be luck, meaning it's just chance. And effort, of course, is a factor, but it can also be the deity's grace. The deity's grace can play a factor. So there's two other things besides luck and effort. There's karma and there's divine grace. So it can be a combination of all four of those. Valipadu, what is Valipadu? It just means worship. Devotional worship is Valipadu. Why do people meditate? Well, why not? Right? Why do people dance? Well, why not? Well, people meditate to experience God within them. I like to explain that there's three types of temples, not just one type of temple. The first temple is, I call it the Pura Kovil, the village temple. And the second type of temple is the Griha Kovil, or the home shrine. And the third type of temple is the Atma Kovil, or the soul. So we meditate to experience Shiva in the soul temple. What does Shiva look like in the soul temple? The spiritual light, spiritual sounds. We're trying to experience Shiva in that form. There's a beautiful verse, Thirumandaram, which I remember somewhat the English rendering. It says, being the life of life is wondrous jnana worship. Beholding the light of life, something like Oli Uyir, light of life, Oli Uyir, is yoga worship. Invoking life is kriya, which means doing puja. And controlling anger, displacing anger with devotion is charya. So it's a practice. Yoga is going into the soul and experience Shiva as inner life. It's right in Thirumandaram. So that's people meditate to experience Shiva in the Atma. The difference between Samadhi, Moksha, and Kundalini. Well, they're quite different, yes. Samadhi is in the terms of Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali's Yoga, Samadhi is the eighth limb. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Niyama, Samadhi. And Samadhi is the eighth limb, eighth refined practice, and it's the type of meditation where you and the object of meditation are not separate. That's what Samadhi is, the highest level of meditation. Moksha means liberation from rebirth, very specific word. We're not reborn out of it. Otherwise, we're in this cycle of rebirth. So moksha means we're not reborn. Very simple. Kundalini is an energy in the spine that rises during certain types of meditation and causes deeper experiences. So it's an energy in the spine. How can all of life be sacred? Well, thank you for asking. Hoping someone would ask. But what does it mean to say all of life is sacred? Well, it means we're not following the Western concept. The Western concept is one day of the week is the holy day. So in Christianity, it's Sunday, for example. The other 6 days are not considered holy days. And on the holy day, you don't work, and on the other days, you work. There's no such concept in Hinduism. We have holy days. Every day, the holy day is one Hindu or another, right? Monday is this, Tuesday is that, Wednesday is that. But we work on those days, so we don't say this is a holy day, this is a work day. It's the same thing. We worship and we work on the same day. Likewise, in Western thinking, the religion is what we do at the church. What we do outside the church is not religion. But the Hindu doesn't think that way. We fulfill dharma. We fulfill our duties in life. So a doctor, for example, he's trying to make society a better place as well as support himself and his family. He's concerned about the welfare of society. An honest businessman is trying to help the community in which he exists, not just take from it. So we are fulfilling our work in a way that benefits society. And therefore, it's sacred because it's causing spiritual progress. So our work itself is sacred. All days of the week are sacred. So that's simple examples of how life can be sacred. Why was the word hell made up? Well, hell, of course, is an English word. The Sanskrit word is naraka. Narakaloka, the lower plane, somewhere you don't want to go. But it's there. So, the word hell exists to try and describe that plane. And of course, Hindus believe in reincarnation, so if someone's really a criminal, violent person, when they die, they go to the Narakaloka or hell, but not permanently. Then they're reborn, because in Hinduism we're all coming up in consciousness, slow by slow. And so no one doesn't achieve moksha and liberation. If we achieve contentment during our lifetime, would that be different from reaching heaven? Well, as the lesson said, hell is a state of mind as well as a place, so is heaven a state of mind as well as a place. So the answer would be the same. In other words, a spiritual person is content living in a physical body, and he'll be that same person with that same contentment in heaven. That'll be different. The only change that happens is we lose the physical body. We don't become a different person. Our consciousness doesn't change. So if we're content, if we're spiritually uplifted, when we're living, we'll be the same when we're not living. So that makes it a yes. How do we gain continuous happiness? Well, I can answer the question, how do we gain almost continuous happiness? Some things are going to make us unhappy. It's just major. We lose a spouse, for example. That we're supposed to be unhappy when we lose our spouse. We're not supposed to be happy, but we're supposed to recover. After a year or so, we're supposed to recover from that and go back to a happy state. Well, almost continuous happiness is looked at as something we need to find within ourselves. Another way of describing the soul is happiness, or ananda, contentment. So if we're aware of our soul, we are a content, happy person. If we're not aware of our soul, we're depending upon the events in our life, the possessions, how people treat us to make us happy, and that is up and down, up and down. So the way we achieve almost continuous happiness is by daily going into our soul. What are the differences between the mind, the spirit, and the brain? Well, the spirit is distinct. The spirit means the soul. And the soul goes on after death. The brain is physical, and the mind works through the brain. The brain is more a structure that allows the mind to perceive the world. Without the brain, we can't perceive the physical world. The brain is needed. It takes the sensory inputs, organizes them, and we are able to relate to the world because we have a brain. even without a physical body, we still have a mind and a spirit. What does being pure mean? Saucha is purity. Well, it means a couple of things. The easiest form we think about is just ourselves, our physical body, our clothing. We want them to be washed. So we bathe regularly every day. We wear clean clothes. We don't wear them too long. That's the outer purity or cleanliness. We want to keep our room clean, things in place so it's not a big mess. It's a form of purity. But then we want to keep the mind clean. That's called chitta shuddhi. That's more subtle. And how does the mind become impure? Well, by wrong action. That's the basic way. We steal something, we lie. That's the way the mind becomes impure. We do things we're not supposed to. Makes the mind impure. What does impure mean? It means that a spiritual person look at you, you see darkness inside you. There's a darkness that builds with every wrong deed. So to get rid of the darkness, both from this life and past lives, that's one of the reasons we worship in the temple. It helps purify the mind. It reduces the level of darkness over time. What is the meaning of puja? Puja is the most common way we're inviting the deity to come and bless us. That's the basic essence of puja. If we go into the temple at a time when there's no puja, it's different than if we go there when the puja is going on. And what would you do? What would you say? It's like a king in a palace. It's one thing when the king's on the throne, it's another thing when you go there and nobody's on the throne. It's not the same experience. Puja is trying to get the king on the throne. It's trying to get the deity in the murti to bless us. That's the purpose of puja. Aren't you allowed to wear shoes in the temple? Well, it has to do with physical purity. Shoes have dirt and touching the earth. So we don't want that in the temple. It's part of the standard of cleanliness in a temple is higher standard than in the home, so we say. You wouldn't want to live in a temple. It would be too restricted. No TV, no this, no that, no internet. So, but it's a higher standard, and part of it is physical cleanliness. There's a higher standard of physical cleanliness in the temple, and part of that is shoes. Why do we sing Devaram? The purpose of Devaram is to make us feel more devotional, to make us feel more love of God. That's the basic purpose of Devaram. Why do we dress up in traditional clothes to go to the temple? Another one on clothes. Well, clothes change our mood. That's the answer. Clothes change our mood. For example, a sports team puts on its uniform. They start to feel more sporting, more like doing something. It just changes the mood. A band puts on a uniform, changes the mood of the group. So likewise, when you put on, you go to a very fancy restaurant and you put on your finest clothing, you're having a very refined dining experience and you're paying a lot of money for it. So you put on your finest clothes. So religious clothing helps us get in a religious mood. That's the point. Just putting on the clothing changes our mood from our ordinary school uniform. Use school uniforms is another example. You feel like a student and you put on your school uniform and take it off and go. So clothing influences our state of mind and helps get us ready. Why do we have to have a bath shower before coming to the temple? Because it has a higher standard of cleanliness. In a situation, what will karma do to us?
And then, why does Shiva have weapons in his hand? The general concept of weapons is weapons are
questions.
taking out the negative qualities in people, which are sometimes looked at as separate. Why do swamis give up their belongings? So they can focus more on religious practices. The more belongings you have, the more involved in the world you are. So they do it so they can put more time in on religious practices. Differences in denominations and Advaita Dvaita or Vishishta Dvaita. Well, that's a complicated one. The denomination, there's four major Hindu denominations. As we went through, Saivism, Saktism, Vaishnavism, and Smartism. So the denomination that doesn't have monism is Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism is always dualistic in some sense. You are here, God is there. There's always a separation in Vaishnavism. That's the simplest point. In terms of Dvaita, there is Dvaita in Smartism, Saktism, and Saivism, but not all forms of it. The rest would be too complicated to try and explain. What are the main parts of Hinduism? I think it says parts. Well, the main parts of Hinduism are philosophy and practice. That's one way of looking at it. We need to understand the teachings. Thank you. We need to understand the teachings, and then we need to put into practice what we're supposed to put into practice. So it has two aspects. If we don't understand the teachings, that's a problem, and if we don't practice anything, that's a problem. So ideally, we have a certain understanding of the teachings, and then we're putting certain key things into practice. So that would be the main parts of Hinduism. How many gods are there? Well, there's a song, Mupatu Mukodi Devarkum. 33 crore, or 330 million, right? Those are now counting crores and lakhs. Mupatu Mukodi is 33 crore. Crore is 10 million. So 330 million is what the songs say. Why they say that, I don't know. How many Hindus are there? That's easier. There's 1 billion Hindus. In our chart, it said 13.2% of the religious people in the world are Hindus. So roughly, what's that? 1 out of 8? 1 out of 8, I think. What is the most important thing for Hindus? Well, I just said what the most important thing for Hindus is. We need to have a certain knowledge of the teachings, and we need to know what we should be doing and be doing it. Knowledge and practice combined. How do we reconcile Sarvam Sivam Seyal and the concept of free will? So Sarvam Sivam Seyal means Shiva is doing it all, and the concept of free will. The example I use has to do with electricity. We take a look around. We have the screen, electricity, we have a projector, we have a computer, microphone, lights. Anything else running on electricity here? Yes. Audio, yes. So what do they all have in common? The electricity, right? If the electricity goes off, what happens? Okay, so the electricity is sarvam, sivam, sarvam sayal, sarvam sivam sayal. That's like God is the electricity. The electricity is doing it all, right? That would be an accurate statement, right? The electricity is doing it all. But the computer is doing certain things when electricity is there. The microphone is doing something else. So it has, they're doing certain things based on how they were structured. So likewise, a human being, the life energy in the human being is Shiva. Without that life energy, the human being couldn't do anything. But the person has free will, how to use that energy. That's one way of looking at it. How did Hinduism begin? Well, it came from God. That's how it began. Hindu religion comes from God. What are the duties of a guru? Well, that's a good one. I got asked that question in another form. The way it was asked was, you're a Satguru, what does it mean to be a Satguru? It's a slightly confrontational experience. I said, well, Sat means truth, or God. So it's someone who's teaching about God. And the goal of a Satguru is to help you find God in you. Not about them. It's not about Satguru as some great attainment or this and that. No, the Satguru is a teacher. He's teaching about truth. He's trying to help you to find the truth or God in you. So that's the main duty of a Satguru. Guru just means teacher. So you can have a music teacher, a math teacher, dance teacher. They're all gurus. So you need to qualify it. What kind of guru? What kind of teacher? So a Satguru is one who teaches about God and simply is trying to help you find God in you, just like a dance teacher. Dance teacher is trying to help you dance, not trying to be a concert dancer. The emphasis is on teacher, helping the student improve. Thank you very much.
There's one more question, Guru.
One more question.
It's on the floor there.
One more. Oh, I answered that one, yes. No, wait. Oh, what does this sign mean? Oh, it's the Om. Yes, it's the Sanskrit Om. Someone's just asking what the Sanskrit Om. The Tamil Om is different. It's the Om, A-U-M. But what does Om mean, I guess, would be another point. So you can write Om, O-M in English, or A-U-M. It's written both ways. It's a mantra. It's a very sacred mantra used a lot in chanting, more than any other mantra. And it takes you deep within, is the idea. It's a mantra that takes you deep within yourself when you just chant it personally. In Sanskrit verses, it adds power. That's the way our Guru explained it. You add Om to something, it adds power to the rest of the chant. The rest of the chant's more powerful because it began with Om. So we chant the names of the deity, Om Shivaya Namaha, Om this, Om that. So we're adding Om to each of the words, which gives it more power. Did we get all the questions? No questions hiding anywhere?